For weeks the signs of May's big event have been there for all to see, as local marathon aficionados prepare themselves with some serious training. The Daily Post plays its part showcasing the months of preparation undertaken by long-time marathon organiser Dennis Kenny, and acknowledging the swag of indispensable volunteers who turn out year after year to man drink stations and provide traffic control. As in past years, the Post makes a feast of Marathon Weekend itself, capturing the colour of the event on the day, including the traditional mass start in the government gardens. The nearby bathhouse has also been in the news. Last month saw the announcement that despite being a real money spinner, no longer would the building be available for hire as a venue for special functions like this. Long gone are the days when it was thought appropriate for the Rotorua Museum to double as a nightclub. This rare home movie footage from the 1960s shows the scene on Tudor Tower's opening night. There's even footage of a very busy kitchen in full swing. The popular nightclub became a major showcase of New Zealand and international talent for some years. But entertainment and the preservation of history were always going to be uneasy bedfellows. When the lease expired, that was the end of Tudor Towers. Now, with the centenary of the iconic building coming up in 2008, talk is of a complete makeover, a renovation project to expand and restore the building, even to the extent of completing it to its full original design. What everyone is carefully avoiding at this stage is exactly how much that might cost and who might be paying. Riding on the coattails of the marathon comes one of the most important race days on the Rotorua Racing Club's calendar. No one is quite sure of the exact date when the Rotorua Cup was first run, but back in 1940 the Cup was won by a local owner and businessman, Keith Richards. Rotorua Review reporter Simon Earle has just marked Keith's death at the age of 96 with an obituary that includes one of life's mysterious coincidences.
He had a lifelong love of thoroughbreds. He was heavily involved with the Rotorua and Bay of Plenty Hunt and the Rotorua Racing Club. He was administrator for both. And over a period of decades, he was one of the most successful racehorse owners in Rotorua. One of his horses, Rigoli, won many races on both sides of the Tasman. And he also, probably his biggest thrill in racing was winning the 1940 Rotorua Cup with a horse called Kina. So it's probably appropriate in a sense that the day he passed away actually was the day of the Rotorua Cup in 2003, so it's sad and appropriate.
As the disputed cobblestoning continues apace in Nongataha's main street, another much larger and long-awaited road project is reaching fruition. They're making the final touches to the much improved Tauranga Direct Road. The ceiling due to be finished in 2 weeks comes the news that Transit New Zealand proposes to officially designate the link a state highway and take over ongoing maintenance costs. This is good news for the district ratepayers and a fitting conclusion to a story of a road that in the space of 2 years has been transformed from little more than a dusty gravel track to what should be a credible alternative route between Rotorua and Tauranga. In the second week of May, the tourism arm of the District Council announces a change at the top. Tourism Rotorua General Manager Oscar Nathan isn't leaving town, but after more than 5 years in the top job, he's moving to a new challenge within the visitor industry.
Funnily enough, I hadn't run a big business. I hadn't had to sort of prove myself, really.
Oscar had spent 5 years, I think, in the role of General Manager of Tourism Rotorua highly regarded within the tourism sector and within the Rotorua District Council. During that time he won a national award for Young Chief Executive of the Year, which the Rotorua Review covered. He was a loss when he went to Tamaki Tours, which was just establishing a new venture called Realm of Tane in Hinimaru Street at the time.
Council didn't want me to leave the organisation, you know, there was no reason to. But I sort of felt within myself that I hadn't really gone out and done my own thing in the space, you know, driven a business. It was a notified departure, and we looked at putting in sort of general manager positions across what was then 3 locations. So Rotorua, Christchurch, and you know, we had 2 businesses in Rotorua at that stage as well. So, and then we were also looking at some contracting stuff offshore. So.
During May, the trials and tribulations of Lockwood's Mamaku factory project have taken a turn for the worse. The decision over the resource consent for the development has been appealed by the trust that owns industrial zone land just to the south of Hemo Gorge and considers this location a more viable one for a factory site. Whether an act of opportunism, a delaying tactic, or a genuine attempt to find a solution that satisfies all parties, considering Lockwood's claims of a further 5-year delay in its project, this story reinforces the opinion of some that the cost and frustrations of doing business in Rotorua have gone too far.
And I don't think we nailed it, really. Yeah, it's one of those decisions that when you look at it at the time, you think, yes, we should. It seems like a common sense decision. We should really get that, tick it all off and get it cracking. But there always seemed to be little issues that went on. But council were generally in favour of Lockwood going up there. That's what they wanted to do, and that's what we really should have nailed them to allow them to do.
At times, those frustrations are something experienced by the District Council itself. For example, take the multiplex building. Once destined as a cinema complex, then abandoned without being completed, 10 years on, the structure remains a deteriorating shell.
The big issue was to move it forward to get some sort of conclusion so that the site could either be demolished or remedial measures to finish the building.
Even the news of a possible new lease of life for the building doesn't dispel the feeling that the multiplex will continue to stand as a monument to its intransigent owners and a council with its hands tied by legal restraints. Kilometres away from the bustle of city activities, the placid beauty of Hamarana Springs has long been a joy for visitors and locals alike. But it's been many a year since Hamarana enjoyed its heyday with fine fishing and accommodation for holidaymakers. The land itself has a checkered and disputed history. It's one of the only examples of 19th century land confiscation in the district.
We all grew up knowing that thousands of acres were confiscated from our tribe by the people at the time. When 2 of our warriors, Kiriopa and Hikairo, I think it was, joined the Ho-Ho movement, and so as a penalty they took thousands of acres off us. Probably they would have taken it away for some other reason. And in amongst that was that beautiful Hamarana Springs.
This Crown-owned land has long been administered by the Department of Conservation and operated by a variety of leaseholders. But in recent times, management issues have seen Hamarana become unkempt. By 2003, the rundown appearance has reached the stage where the local community wants to take matters into their own hands and restore the fortunes of the beauty spot to its former glory. That's an objective which resonates with many, and the Post received plenty of letters of support. Meanwhile at Hamarana, a swelling duck population, oblivious to the controversy, is only too happy to enjoy the sanctuary at a time when the shooting season is in full swing. The birds are also coming home to roost at the District Council. Maintaining the status quo on the current rates differential system may have gone down well with rural landowners, but in town, commercial and industrial businesses are looking at rates increases as high as 11%. Scotty Watson has plans to cause a logjam of submissions at next month's annual planning meetings in an effort to make sure councillors understand the depth of CBD retailer dissatisfaction.
Nothing provokes a bigger debate at the council table than rate time. When we're setting rates, all sorts of things, come into being, and all sorts of philosophies will surface. Well, I pay this and he pays that. Why should it be that? And I always say, because rating is not fair. It is not fair.
But there's more from another group. This one, led by local businessman Brett Marvelly, is campaigning for more council planning and investment in promoting the region.
We knew that tourism was really their golden goose. That was the egg. We knew for every 100 tourists that arrived into our city, there's an extra person employed, an extra 2 people employed. We realised it wasn't just hotels and motels and attractions. It was fast foods, it was the McDonald's, it was the pizzas, it was the restaurants, it was the taxi drivers. It was the people that were producing the food, so the eggs, the bacon, the bread. All the visitors that were coming to our city had a drop-down effect, and people didn't understand that. And that's what we were trying to go to council with, to bring that to the fore.
Brett was right. I think it's 2 out of every 5 or 2 out of every 6 people in Rotorua are involved in the tourism industry of one way or another, whether they're a chef or you provide food for the whatever, I don't know, but they are involved in it in some way or another.
It was important that we not just sit on our hands and say people will come to us. Other regions throughout New Zealand were lifting their own game.
The cold chill of competition from other holiday destinations is really becoming evident. Only weeks into the campaign to save power, and so far things are not looking promising. If anything, electricity consumption is up, and there are now dire warnings of the failure to make substantial cuts.
We had to change all the obvious ones, like turn all the floodlights off Te Wharetonga Te Arawa on the bathhouse, turn all the lighting off on the streets early, and put them on much later.
We got smarter in the way we ran our wastewater treatment plant, which is probably our biggest energy consumer.
A week on, and it's a different picture. Rotorua has finally switched on to switching off, and in the last week of May manages to easily exceed the savings target of 10%. Best of all, there are reports of good solid rainfalls all around the country, boosting hopes that an end to the power crisis may be in sight, just in time for winter.